Alright, class, as I stated on the first day of school, regardless if I am present or not, there is still learning going on, whether in person or virtually. Before I start the lesson, I always like to go over a couple of housekeeping rules, so please make sure that you pay attention. What you see right now is on the slide are just students that I have selected in each period to assist the substitute with. The substitute has a subfolder which I left on my chair or on my desk. It's an orange folder that has the title subfolder on it. For second period, I would like Chelsea to assist with checking the roll and Arthur Harmon to manage my computer. That means that's the computer that is connected to the projector so it can project on the screen. So that means pausing, replaying the videos if needed, and anything like that, or moving on to the next video. For third period, Sanita Hayes, please go ahead and help the sub with checking roll. Elijah Davis, please manage my computer. And DeAndre Washington, please make sure that you turn off my projector once class is over. I will have the remote control to that projector on my black cart, and all you have to do is just aim at the projector on the ceiling and press the red button twice. You may have to get close or right underneath the projector for it to work. For fifth period, I would like Diamond Martin to help the sub with checking roll after lunch, and Herbert Briggs to manage my computer. For sixth period, Autumn Jackson, please help the sub with checking roll, and Benjamin Harris, please manage my computer. For seventh period, this is the most important one, Lily Shelton, please help the sub with checking roll. Jada Owens, please help with managing my computer. Tashira Parker, please turn off my projector once class is over. Again, please make sure you turn it off. I do not want to have it run the entire night until I get there the next morning. So please make sure it's turned off. Again, the remote control will probably be on the black cart. Grab it, go underneath the projector, and press the red button twice for it to turn off. Seventh period, everyone please needs to make sure that all of my calculators are on top of the desk number with the cover, in other words, closed. A couple of rules while I'm gone. No one leaves unless called from the office with an official pass. Again, no one leaves unless you are called from the office with an official pass. Everyone must sit in their assigned seat. Just because I am not there does not mean you can misbehave. Remember that you represent me now. Anything that is tied to my name is going to be the best. And in this case, you will be the best behaved at Ozan High School. You can pause or replay the video as you choose so that everyone can get the notes from the lesson. Also, if you don't get all of the notes, don't forget that these videos are on my website. So you are more than welcome to go home and access those videos at home. You can also access them through your cell phone. Homework number 3 is available on my website. For those that did not get it yesterday after the test, it is available to you on my website. Also, I just want to state that I know it says on the calendar that it is due next Tuesday. Homework number 3 is one that I will play by ear. We will see. I may keep it on Tuesday. I may change it to Wednesday. It is a hard concept, a hard topic. So again, this is one that I'm going to play by ear and kind of see how we're doing on it. And the next one is, if you misbehave, you take my retest for the rest of the semester. So again, please make sure that you behave. I don't want any complaints at all from the substitute. Again, you represent me and you will be the best. With that said, let's go ahead and move on with our lesson. And that is going to be graphing the sine and cosine waves, because that's what they are. The first thing that I want to do is give you a little just background. The way we graph waves are a little bit different. in this situation. This is the most popular axis that we will use. Realize that on the y-axis you have the -1 and the +1, and then on the right hand side and the left hand side. Let's look at the right hand side. Each of these hash marks, if you think about it and you look back at your unit circle, so look at these values. Look at pi over 2, look at pi, look at 3 pi over 2, and look at 2 pi. Now all of those values should be very familiar to you because you should have seen them on your unit circle. So let's go quickly and look at the unit circle. So if you look at the unit circle, here is 0, here is pi over 2, here is pi, here is 3 pi over 2, and here is 2 pi. So in other words, each of those values, each of these hash marks represents each of the points on the axis, on the x and y axis in the unit circle. Now those are the positive values. On the left hand side, like any other coordinate system, are going to be the negative values. So here I have negative pi over 2, even though it's not marked. Here I have negative pi, negative 3 pi over 2 is this third one, and negative 2 pi. Okay, so this is the more traditional one that we will be using. So you need to get very familiar with this type of axis system. Now later on, these values will change because we will be shifting and transforming these waves. We're going to shrink them, extend them, make them a little bit longer, or in other words, elongate them. We're also going to move them up and down, left and right, just like any other function, any other parent function. Okay, so just kind of get familiar with that. So let's look at, this is another one where I've just only graphed the positive part of it. So just kind of, this is an up close one. I've completely ignored the left hand side, the negative one, but this is the more traditional one that you will also see. Pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi, as you can see. Now, we are going to go ahead and graph the first trig function that you learned, which was sine. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and give you those values. Okay, and again, these values you already know or you have already seen because they are coming from your unit circle. You are used to now seeing these values here, 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. If I were to plug each of these into my sine function, I get the following values, 0, 1, 0, -1, and 0. These numbers here are what I call magic numbers. If you plan to take a major in engineering, take a calculus class in college, or even if you have me again next year for calculus, these follow you. You will have to remember these for those that want to pursue a higher level mathematics class. These are what I call the magic numbers. If you remember these, you will be able to graph the parent function of sine. 0, 1, 0, -1, and 0. Likewise, you should be able to tell me the sine of pi is 0. The sine of 2 pi is 0. The sine of pi over 2 is 1. The sine of 3 pi over 2 is -1. The sine of 0 is 0. That's how quick you should be able to tell me those values. Because in a couple of weeks, starting probably the second 6 weeks, those will be your pop quiz questions. You should be able to tell me cosine of pi is -1. Sine of pi over 2 is +1. Sine of 2 pi is 0. Cosine of 2 pi is 1. That's how good you should be able to be in a couple of weeks. So if you haven't already, start looking at that unit circle because it will come quickly on you. So go ahead and finish making your sine chart with those values, 0, 1, 0, -1, and 0. Now, what's going to happen next is we are going to plot those points onto the axis that I introduced you to in the previous slide. So I'm going to give you a couple more seconds to go ahead and copy it down, and then I'll move on to plotting it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on and plot each of these values onto the axis system that I introduced you to. So again, here is the axis system that I introduced you to. Notice that I included the negative side as well as the positive side. So let's take a look at what's going to happen. When we plugged in 0, so if you look at your chart from the slide before, our answer was 0. So that point will be 0, 0. That's exactly where it is, right there at the origin. The next value that we plugged in was pi over 2. When we plug in pi over 2, it gave us a magic number of 1. So at pi over 2, at pi over 2, comma 1, we are going to plot a point right there. Now when we plug in pi, we get 0 again. So at pi, we are going to have a point on the 0. When we got 3 pi over 2, we got negative 1. And then when we plugged in 2 pi, we got 0 again. All you have to do now is connect your dots, or go ahead and follow the pattern on the left-hand side. As you can see on the right-hand side, it starts at 0, it goes up, down, and then back up. So on the left-hand side, it's going to go the opposite. It's going to go down, up, and then back down. So I'm going to follow those points again, or that pattern, and then all I'm going to do is connect the dots. As you can see, it has created a wave. We usually call that a sinusoidal wave. If you have not taken physics yet, you should know, or you should study waves. And I don't remember what 6 weeks it is, but you should be studying waves pretty soon. But this is the parent function of the sine trig. Now let's take a look at this part that I have bracketed. That is considered to be a period. Now a period is the point where it starts repeating. So as you can see, if we start at the origin, it goes up, then comes back down, and then it starts going back up. Guess what starts happening if I were to continue on the right-hand side? It's going to start repeating itself. So it's going to start going back up, back down, and then back up again. So at the point 2 pi, that is what I classify as my period. That is the point at which the wave starts repeating. So please make sure that you make note of that. Now let's take a look at the range. Remember, back in Algebra 1, you studied domain and range. Domain was traditionally connected with the x values. Range was traditionally connected with the y values, or in other words, the x-axis and the y-axis. Let's take a look at the range of this sine wave. From where to where is this sine wave living on the y-axis? If you think about it, look at your brackets. It's between -1 and +1. So our range is from -1 to +1, exactly as I stated here. Now, let's take a look at this. Y equals negative sine of x. Before I do that, I want to go ahead and use a concept that you should have learned either in Algebra 1 or Algebra 2, and then maybe we can apply that concept to the lesson here in pre-calc. So let me go ahead and open up a graphing calculator. So let's say I want to plot x squared. Hopefully we all should know that that is a parabola, parent function. It's a parabola that is opening up, right? And by the way, in case the video chops off or stops, just whoever is managing the computer, just get on up and go ahead and go to video number 2. I may end up doing 3 videos, but again, just make sure that the person goes up and moves